Hello, y'all. This is Prompt 3285, and I just want to talk about my review of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time came out November 21st, 1998 for the Nintendo 64. It came out in November 21st, 1998 for the N64, and it was the very first Zelda game that was featured for the Nintendo 64. And this was the very first Zelda game that crossed over to 3D. It was like virtual, like it was like similar to like Mario 64. It was the very first Zelda game that went this direction, and it was an amazing game. They just went more further. Nintendo did an amazing job with this game. With the dungeons, and it's really cool. It's like they really added a lot more with this game. It's like they brought a lot. And this game, it has a lot of memorable moments, especially memorable to me. Like, I just love the dungeons. Like, the first dungeon in the game is the Great Deku Tree, and when you start out in the game, you start out in the Kokiri Forest, and Link is with the Kokiri. But then later on in the game, they discovered that they tell you that Link isn't Kokiri, he's actually Hylian, but he was raised, because what happened was it was his mother was fatally wounded, and she had a baby, and she asked the Great Deku Tree to look after him, and I think his mother passed, but he was raised as a Kokiri, and he was raised as a kid the Great Deku Tree and Kokiri, and they looked after him when his mother passed, and it was something. This game had a great story, and this definitely also was like the game that introduced Ganon. They went more deeper with Ganon, his lore. Like, this was like a great origin story to Ganon, because in this game, Ganondorf looks different. He looks it's supposed to be before he was known as Ganon. He was called Ganondorf, and he was from the desert. He was born in the desert, and he was a Gerudo. So this game also went more deeper within Ganondorf, his origins, which was awesome, And the first dungeon in the game was the Great Deku Tree, and the second dungeon in the game was the Dongo's Cavern. Was the second game. It was the Dongo's Cavern, yeah. And then the third dungeon in the game was I think it's inside Jabu Jabu. Was inside him. Like, you had to go inside, And this game had like the spiritual. You had to retrieve all the like, I think it's called the stones. Like, you had to get all the stones, the spiritual stones. It was sort of similar, like, to this game had some similarity to Link to the Past, when you had to get all three stones, and you had to get all of them in order to get the Master Sword. But also, during the game, Link come across Ganon, like, which is something he had a dream, like in the beginning of the game, which was cool. When he was asleep, he had a dream of Ganon, and it was similar to his dream, like when he got all the stones and he was heading towards Hyrule Castle. This is when he come face to face with Ganon, and before that, they showed Zelda and Impa galloping away on a horse. They showed him like leaving Hyrule Castle, and then when Link turns around, he's face to face with Ganon. Ganon's on his horse, and Ganon is telling him, where did they go? He's like, little boy over there. Have you seen a white horse? Have you seen and this is when he was face to face with Ganon. And Ganon used like his powers. He blasts Link, and he while he laughed, and then while he leaves, Link is looking at him, and he's saying, that's when the first time he come across like Link, which was really cool, and This game was a great game. I really enjoyed it. In my opinion, it was a great game, you know. And this is what, like, you start off as young Link. You start off as, you know, and in this game, this Link is the hero of time, and you start off you start off in the past, and the items you have is the slingshot, the boomerang, and a kokiri sword, and the Deku shield, wooden shield, you know. And then when you get further in the game, like when you get the ocarina of time, because Zelda throws the ocarina of time in the water in the lake, you know, and then you jump in, you know, and like where Hyrule Castle is, and then you jump in the water, and then you get it, and then that's like the second ocarina you get in the game, because the first ocarina you get in the game is from Saria. She's a kokiri, and she's like a close friend of Link, you know. And that's something like how later on in the game, like when you get to the past, when you get to the future, when you pick up the Master Sword, you know, when you get to the Temple of Time, and Saria, and Darunia, you know, they all become sages, you know, which is messed up. They become spirits, they become sages, you know. And this game has a great story, has amazing dungeons, has memorable dungeons. Even the music in this game is memorable. The music is just so amazing, you know. Everything about this game is just amazing, you know. I love the dungeons, like the Forest Temple. Like when you get to the future, the first dungeon that you gotta do is the Forest Temple. Then after the Forest Temple is the Fire Temple, you know. And then they also have, this game also feature different tunics, like the Goron tunic, the Zoro tunic, you know, the iron boots, the fairy bow, you know what I mean. This also introduced, it's one of the first games to introduce the fire arrows, the ice arrows, and the light arrows, you know. And this game was an amazing game, you know, because you like before Link gets to the future, he meets Zelda for the first time, because Link had to sneak in to see Zelda before getting spotted by the guards, you know, the Hylian soldiers, you know. You had to, you know, and that's when Link meets Zelda, and she's a kid too, like in the past. But then you also come across her later on in the future, you know. But she takes the form of Sheik, which was really cool. She has like a disguise, you know, and that's cool. Like all that time that Zelda was Sheik, you know, and then she revealed her true self near the end of the game, you know, after you complete all the temples, you know. But my favorite temple, one of my favorite temples of all time, especially when you get to the future, is the Spirit Temple. I love the music, you know. I love the Spirit Temple. That's one of my all-time favorites, the Spirit Temple, you know. It's really cool. But I really enjoyed this game, and this game was so huge that they even had a remake of this game for the 3DS. Now the 3DS version was called The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, and it came out 2011. It came out June 26th. No, it came out June 16th. My fault, y'all. It came out June 16th, 2011 for the 3DS. And the 3DS version even looked more updated, you know. It's an amazing remake. It looks better, you know. It looks more updated. They added more detail to Link, you know. You know, it still has the dungeons, but everything they did is like they did it better. Like they did everything over, you know. They add more detail to Link, you know, compared to the N64 version. The 3DS version does look better. It looks updated, you know. Especially the graphics, and you know, it's like they redesign everything. They made everything look more. They add more detail, even to the dungeons, you know, which was really cool. You know, and it's just amazing how popular this game was and huge it was, because it sold a lot of units and it was really popular. And this was one of the Zelda games that is definitely one of the all-time great Zelda games. You know, it's definitely one of the know, a lot of people cherish this game because a lot of people love this game. This is definitely one of the greatest. It's definitely one of the all-time greats. It's definitely one of my all-time favorite Zelda games of all time. You know, and it's a true classic. You know, this really is. If you're playing it for the Nintendo 64, or if you're playing it for the 3DS, you know, this game is something that every Zelda fan, you know, definitely has to play because it's just an amazing experience playing this game. This game was a phenomenon, and it was huge. And they even had a remake, you know. It was the first game featured for the Nintendo 64, first game, you know. It was, you know, and they went more further with this game. They did. It's just, you know, how you get the Master Sword, the Hylian Shield, and how Link gets older, like the more further you progress through the game, and the deeper the story goes, you know. This game had a dark story, had an amazing story, had a deep story, you know. It was really cool. Even the final battle with Ganon was just amazing. You know, the final battle, and then at the end, at the last battle, he transforms into Ganon, you know. That's what becomes Ganon, you know. And it's really cool. It's an amazing game. Also helped Link too was the sages, you know, was Link. Also, he was also protected by the sages. And Zelda was actually the final sage, pretty much, yeah, which was really cool. And in this game, you know, it's Ganon, he's from the Gerudo Desert. He was born from the desert, so they went more deeper with not just where Link came from, but they went more deeper with Ganon, his origin. It was like an origin story at Ganon, you know, that the previous games they didn't tell, you know, what Ganon, what he originally was, you know. Also, this game also introduced characters like Twin Rova. The other thing, that's this character's name, the two witches, Twin Rova, which they were Ganon's, they were actually Ganon's mom. You know, they were Ganon's mothers, you know, that you face at the Spirit Temple. You know, them two witches were Ganon's mom, you know. Yeah, which was something, was really something. So they went really deeper with Ganon, his lords, like his mother. They have his mother, you know, and then they also have, like, explain where he was born at, you know. They went more deeper with his origin story in this game, which was so unique, you know. This game was an amazing game. I really loved it. This is definitely one of my favorite, all-time favorite, especially in its N64 games, you know. Because I love Mario 64, but I definitely love this game too. This was a classic, you know. It's definitely one of my favorites, especially N64 games, you know. Really enjoyed this game. I used to play this game every day. It was just an amazing experience, you know, playing this game. And I remember seeing, like, you know, like, I remember I had this game book, and they showed, like how the game looked before it came out, you know, when they was working on it. And I remember I could not wait till this game came out, you know. I was so hyped, you know. Because the first system I had around that era with the PlayStation and Sega Saturn was the Nintendo 64. And I remember I just, like, could not wait for Zelda 64, you know. And I remember I just could not wait. It was just an amazing experience, you know. And this game is a true classic, you know. And I want to know from my subscribers, what's your favorite moments with this game, you know? What was the first time you played this game? I just want to know from my subscribers, you know. Really interested in wanting to know about what's your favorite experiences playing this game, you know. And I just want to make this video, y'all, because I wanted to do a review about this game, because it's definitely one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites.